So I was at Bellevue Hospital, right? And Bellevue Hospital is, if you know, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, till now, or I don't know, but at that time when I was there, a long time ago, when I was a resident, it was like a resident-run hospital. It was like the residents run the whole thing. The surgeon actually, the surgical resident would take the patient to the OR, sometimes without the attending at all, or sometimes the attending just show up, say hi in the beginning and leave, especially for small cases. So we, and the same thing, it's a taboo to call the attending really at that time, you know, 1996 or 1997. In any way, so I was over there, and they get a patient from the ER that is a 60-year-old patient who has cirrhosis. Female has cirrhosis, and she comes in with abdominal pain, vague abdominal pain. And she was tachypnic, very tachypnic, that they had to intubate her and took her to the CAT scan for the abdomen. They found a thickened sigmoid. Right? So then when she came back from the CAT scan, they sent the rest of the labs, and the gas machine over there would actually send measure lactate whether you want it or not. It will measure the lactate. So the gas was like this, 7.620, lactate of 10, potassium, which also comes from the gas machine, 3.1, and they sent albumin was 1.1, and they sent also hemoglobin was 9, I think, or something like that. All right. So then the patient came to the ICU. With it coming the surgery resident who wants to take the patient to the OR. Right? He was consulted in the ER. So so then I said, there is a problem with this case. Can we wait a little bit on taking her to the OR? So of course he yelled at me. So I called my attending, which was the first. He yelled at my attending. Then my attending called his attending. And his attending, never got a call like this in the middle of the night. Then he said, we're not going to do the case because the potassium is 3.1.
Save face.
Fix it. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I said, great, we have time to think about this. Of course, we didn't know. We know there's a problem with the case, with this presentation, but we didn't know what it is. So imagine life before Google. There was no Google. There was nothing. In fact, Bellevue Hospital was one of the first hospitals in the United States that actually that you can see the labs on the computer. That was an amazing advance, that you can actually see the labs on the computer. And in order for me to look at the computer, you know what I would do? There's actually a key, an actual key, that you go to the right side of the computer and open it, and then put your password. It was like so. So obviously we have nothing to do. The only thing we could do, we could actually go downstairs and have the security open the library for us, because it's in the middle of the night, and actually touch books. Do you guys touch books?
No.
I touch books still.
I like books.
Yeah. But it's germs and stuff. Yeah. Anyway. So anyway, we found this. What's wrong with this picture?
She has a lactate of 10, but she's alkalemic.
Exactly. Let's dissect it. This one is alkalosis, respiratory or metabolic, respiratory, pure or mixed.
Mixed.
Yeah. So this went up by 20. So this should have been 756, but it's not. It's actually more. So similar to the other case, acute respiratory alkalosis and metabolic alkalosis. There's no speck of metabolic acidosis, right? If this one, if this was 30, for example, it would have been a different story. It would have been that there's maybe metabolic acidosis or something like that, right? Let's play the game. Let's say this was 30. Actually, no, it's not. If this was 10, that would have been different, right? Because this would be going down by 30. The change here would be what?
0.24.
0.24. So it would be supposed to be 7.64, and something brought it down to 7.6. So there is acidosis.
Yeah.
You know, so although this is alkalotic, still I can still dissect it and find acidosis inside, and I can at least justify the lactate. But this one I couldn't justify the lactate, right? So we looked and we found a syndrome called what? Acute
Lactic alkalosis.
lactic alkalosis. He knows it. Huh? Acute lactic alkalosis. Obviously, also it's a misnomer, by the way, but it's just a catchy name, so you can think about it. This is the alkalosis that causes the lactate, right? And this syndrome has been identified since the 1970s, and it's written in the books. And it's actually identified first in panic disorders. So people come in and breathing so fast, and once they touch a pH of 7.6 or higher, then everything shuts down and you make more lactate. How? You remember the glycolysis goes, takes the glucose and form pyruvate, right? Pyruvate. Pyruvate through lactate dehydrogenase gives you lactate, but also has the option to go into the Krebs cycle. And if it goes to the Krebs cycle, then it will make more energy and stuff like that and doesn't form as much lactate. The first enzyme of the Krebs cycle is inhibited by pH 7.6 or higher. So you have to be about 7.6. 7.45, 7.5 is not gonna prevent it. 7.6 will shut it down and you form more lactate. There's another mechanism, which is the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. When you have that, it shifts to the left when you're alkalotic and cold and low 2,3 DPG and a lot of other things, right? But alkalosis shifted to the left. By shifting to the left, meaning that you're going to carry oxygen early or easily from the lung, but you're stingy. You're not going to release it at the tissue level, so the tissues will make lactate. Both these mechanisms are bad, but they're not as bad as dead tissues and a low flow state, right? So we can take that, right?
Yeah.
So that's why what we did is that we held on, paralyzed the patient, so she doesn't breathe anymore, and we controlled her breathing to a pH of 7.4. The next morning, within 6 hours, her lactate was 2. Right. So the next time you want to admit somebody to the MICU from the ER, and he's having panic attack, before you give him the brown bag or give him Ativan, just send the lactate, and you'll get an easy admission. And if you start looking at this, by the way, you'll see it.
Yeah.
I see it about maybe every 2 months, right? Every 2 months I see a case like this. Somebody who left the person in pain post-surgery like crazy, right? So the guy's having severe pain, right? Post-surgery, just surgical pain, right? And now he breathes so fast that he develops lactate. So then the surgeon says, he's having pain and having lactate, let's reopen him again, right? So that's why, let me ask you. The problem with lactate is that I feel like the lactate is like the innocent bystander. Is like the good Samaritan that got implicated in the thing, right? So, for example, I practiced medicine in this country in the 1950s. Do you know that? I did. Because I practiced medicine in Egypt in the 1990s. It's the equivalent. But at that time, I was in a big, huge university hospital over there. 1,200 beds, huge. And it's actually, it serves 5 governorates. The catchment area is 25 million people. It's not tertiary care center, it's like quaternary, it's like beyond tertiary care. Like in order to get into that hospital, either you have a very interesting pathology or you know somebody. Or you just showed up on the door, with swords cutting your head and face and everything. Yeah, something like that. But of course it was 1993, so at that time there was only 2 vents in the whole hospital, in the whole 1,200 bed hospital. And I've done a year over there. I have sent the gas and heard about another one for the whole year. There was no gas. It was so difficult. And the gas that I sent, I didn't even get it. The resident, I was an intern. The resident had to get the gas, gave it to me, and I just protected it with my life. I went to the 11th floor. No elevator, by the way. So elevator is only for the professors. 11th floor, gave it to the guy, and waited there until the results came back. right? So I imagine the same thing was happening here in the 1950s. The gas was difficult. Lactate was easy. So people said, okay, well, we noticed that, when the hydrogen ion, when there's acidosis, there's always lactate, always lactic acidosis. So we're going to use it as a surrogate for the hydrogen ions. What is lactate? Lactate is a negative ion that actually chelates the hydrogen ion. It's actually the treatment for acidosis. It's not the acidosis itself, but it just is always there. Every time there's an accident, the Good Samaritan is there. When you see the same Good Samaritan in 10 accidents, you're going to think that he did the accident or causing the accident, right? So that's what happened to lactate. And people think lactate is a dangerous thing, but it's not the dangerous thing. Many evidences, obviously, right? How do we resuscitate lactic acidosis? By giving him lactated ringers with lactate in it, right? Because we don't care about the lactate. The more lactate you have, the better chelation for the hydrogen ion. It's not the opposite, right?
And when they there's been like a few animal studies where if they remove the lactate from the blood in septic animals, they just die.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they die because the thought is the lactate, I think, is like an energy source that's used by the heart.
Yeah, it actually made the glucogenesis into glucose. Yeah, that's a great point.
I'll find this paper and send to you.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be amazing because that proves also the same point. How much hydrogen ions are produced by glycolysis? So glycolysis goes all the way down to pyruvate. How much like a hydrogen ion that comes out of it, released? I thought it's 2.
It's like 4 or 8.
0. There's no hydrogen ion that comes out from glycolysis. It's just glycolysis is for energy, like it's towards the direction of making more energy. It's other metabolic processes where the energy of the cells and all of these things. That's what makes the hydrogen ion. But parallel to that, in the case of lack of oxygen, glycolysis is also moving in the same direction. So glycolysis is made to make the lactate, to get rid of the hydrogen that is made by other metabolic processes, not that the glycolysis itself does it. You know what I mean? So that's why you're never gonna tell me what is you're not gonna tell me that ever that the patient has high lactate, and you'll get away without me asking about the gas, right? If the high lactate is there without acidosis, I don't care. You will try to find fitted in any one of the other things. If the high lactate is there with acidosis, then we worry about it. And that is it. That's it.